Banditos, we're back with another weekly grind guide for the First Descendant. It's Tuesday, October 22nd, and that means the targeted loot has reset in the map, and it's time to get farming for those reactors that you really need. And this week's highlights are going to go to Eugen, Kyle, Ajax, and a few others. Let's jump into this.
Tux makes it exciting!
To get into the end game, you have access to the hard mode map, and by going in here, you can search or use the filter system to farm your targeted reactors. Now, what I do is I go through here and hunt and pick out the best ones for the week, and I bring them to your attention. And especially if we strike gold, I make sure you know all about it. And so this is the grind guide I put together every single week, and you can download this using the link down below. And this week we're bringing some updates to the grind guide because of the hotfix that the devs put out last week that introduced a new way to farm reactors in battlefield missions. A lot of people, I believe, are either confused or still missing this feature, so I'm going to do a separate video on that, but I do want you to know that I've integrated that new farming system into this guide. So let me just give you the rundown on the layout real fast. At the very top, we have the featured. These are the ones you do not want to miss because they happen to be the best spots for farming in general for XP, Kuiper, and gold. When a very appealing reactor lands in that zone, then you want to go after it. From there, I have the worthy section. So this is, hey, it's not the best farms in the world, but they're still worth doing if you're after those particular reactors. Then I have the components, and then from there, we break it down by zone. And this is where I've added new elements to the grind guide. For Kingston, for example, it says non-attribute tech, and then it says grand square, fire singular, and chill fusion. So what the devs did is add the ability to farm reactors no matter the rotation for the week. If you need a non-attribute tech reactor, but it didn't make the targeted loot rotation on the map for this week, it sucks to have to wait an entire week to potentially see that land in a battlefield mission in a zone. So reactors can now be farmed in particular zones always. For example, non-attribute tech will always be in grand square. It never rotates, so pick your mission. So what I've done is listed those according to their zone, just reference over to the right to see which mission to farm in that zone. So if you are going to be farming a non-attribute tech, then you're going to want to go to grand square, and then you reference the box, and it says mission radar is where you go. So each zone now has that feature on the guide. At the very bottom of the guide, we have all of the possible reactor stats at their max rolls. From there, I have a sort of glossary for the descendants on what their skill attributes are. This grind guide is always a work in progress, and I'll be updating it every time the devs give us something new in the game. All right, let's start at the top with featured. So it's going to be Eugen, Kyle, and Ajax this week, and let's start with the Fortress Command Relay, which is a really good farm because you're also getting crafting materials for your energy activators. And this week, it's for Eugen with a non-attribute general rounds and fusion reactor. Eugen is really hot right now for Deathstalker. I have a whole guide on Deathstalker and Eugen's build, so check out that next. Here, an Enduring Legacy mount would be great. And then the stats you would want to look for are non-attribute, fusion, and cooldown. But what's most important right now is that you get the correct stats, because in the coming update, which looks like is going to happen on October 30th, they're going to give us a new reactor system where we should be able to put additional weapons on our mounts. How it's going to work exactly, we don't know. And so because of the new reactor system we have now currently in place, this is also hot and featured because of the reactor that's assigned to the Frozen Valley territory, which is Freyna's toxic tech. That's a bonus. You'll be farming for Eugen and getting Freyna toxic tech reactors at the same time. Next is also in the fortress, you're going to want to farm the outpost, commonly referred to as the Volby run. You don't have to use Volby, but this is going to be a Kyle Ajax reactor, and it's going to be non-attribute tech with special rounds, and that opens it up for the secret garden, which is great for additional damage to tech. And so you're going to want that. And you know, that other stat depends on what build you're going to run, but cooldown is always good to have. And then the bonus here, you're also going to be farming for Eugen's non-attribute fusion reactor at the same time. Now, the difference between defense line and command relay, if you're farming for Eugen, is that in Frozen Valley, you're going to be targeting the mount type. So if you really want to get the Enduring Legacy mount, then you're going to want to spend more time in Frozen Valley. If you're more interested in farming Kyle Ajax and Eugen at the same time instead of Eugen and Freyna, then you're going to want to spend more time in defense line. There you go. And now, here we go. Lightning has struck. Echo Swamp will be the hottest farm of the week. This is going to be the environment contamination mission in the abandoned zone. So that's going to drop a non-attribute impact round tech reactor, which is great for Kyle and Ajax, and the Peacemaker, which you have to be gluttony to get. The stats you're going to want are non-attribute and tech, and just like before, perhaps cooldown or depending on your build. But environment contamination is one of the best farms in the game, especially if you're looking for Kuiper Gold and Code Breakers all at the same time. This is where I get my Code Breakers, and I have a lot of them. And you walk out with a decent amount of gold. There's a couple of commanders you kill at the same time at the very end. But the reason why Lightning is striking, because the bonus is also a Kyle Ajax reactor with non-attribute tech. So the targeted loot is non-attribute tech, and the standing reactor farm for this zone, the abandoned zone, is also non-attribute tech. So you're not going to get diluted results with your reactor, well, as much. You're going to get a boost to your targeted loot here because both of these are lining up. When this happens, especially when it's in a zone that's really great to spend time in the first place, then that is the farm for the week. All right, let's move to the worthy section. Starting with Agna, you're going to want to farm the surveillance or the outpost. This is going to be the Vermilion Waste Zone, and that's going to give you a toxic general rounds tech reactor. That's for Freyna, and especially the Fallen Hope, but you can choose another weapon. The stats are probably going to be tech, cooldown, and range. Duration is also good. Now, the Fallen Hope needs a little bit of a rework, and we know the devs are working on the ultimate weapons as we speak. Is the Fallen Hope one of them in the next release? We don't know, but it is a really good weapon, except its talent just needs to be reworked, because when they reworked Freyna, they didn't touch this weapon, but I think we're all anticipating that, and this would be where you want to farm for that reactor. Now, I use the Fallen Hope now anyways, because it's better to shoot than the Secret Garden. The Secret Garden is going to make her skills stronger, but the Fallen Hope just feels really good. The bonus here is that it's also going to be the farm for Enzo, Jaber, or Luna for a non-attribute singular reactor. So go get 2 for 1. All right, in the Echo Swamp, the mission you want is the outpost, so it's not going to be the fastest farm, but you also be getting patterns, and this is in the derelict covert zone. You're going to get chill, high-powered rounds in singular. So for Haley, if you haven't got a reactor for your piercing light, this is where you go. Now, some people like to use the perforator. I personally prefer the piercing light, but the perforator can get you better DPS if you're spamming on that trigger. And for stats, you're going to want singular and damage to Colossus. In Kingston, the mission is field comm, and this is in the destruction zone. You're going to get fire and tech with special rounds. So that's the perfect lineup for Lepic and Asimo using the Secret Garden. And the stats you want there are going to be tech, cooldown, and range, unless you're building into a crit Colossus build. Then you're going to want damage to Colossus. All right, in the Fortress, which is going to be a busy area this week, we have the Aurora Forest zone, and the mission you're going to want is outlying comms. Now, the Aurora Forest is not a great farm. It's not. It's kind of slow. Well, it's really slow. But if you got a couple of people here hanging out in this mission, it can all go really quick. You just don't get a magnificent amount of drops. But the reason why I added it is because Haley's Frostwatcher is sick. That gun is really nice. Now, you might have bad first impressions, but give it time. I'm going to feature it in a build because it's really good. It's a sick weapon. I'm really enjoying it for Haley's mobbing build. So that's what this is about. Chill impact rounds lines up with the Frostwatcher. And you're going to want cooldown and range for Haley on this one. Duration is also good. Crits are also good. And then singular or chill for damage. You're going to get a boost to chill, so it's not bad to roll into that, but diminishing returns, so careful. But the bonus, the reason why I added this one is because there's a bonus here, and that's Biessa's Chill Tech is also in this zone. It's assigned to this zone. So you're going to be farming for Haley's Frostwatcher and Biessa's Chill Tech Reactor at the same time. Now, the reason why that's important is because you probably already got a Biessa build rolling, right? But with the new mods, not running crit might be the way you want to go. And so you'd be looking for a Biessa Chill Tech Reactor that doesn't have crit and that provides other value. And cooldowns and range are really nice on her. And then in Hagios, we have the large supply mission that you want to farm in the Fractured Monolith Zone. This is another Kyle Ajax, but this one's going to be for general rounds, so non-attribute tech. And then great with the Enduring Legacy. This would also be really handy, especially for Ajax, because Kyle's always flying around. So for Ajax in that Deathstalker fight, again, I do have an Ajax build ready for you there, and he holds it down in that fight. So really fun to use him, and the Enduring Legacy is a really good gun for him there because he's not bouncing around like some other builds have him doing in the open world. So stats, you're gonna want non-attribute and tech, and then probably cooldown. You could also go range and widen that protection zone. For components, it looks like they're gonna be landing in the Sterile, Land, and Hagios this week. So you're gonna get auxiliary power if you farm the restricted zone. And you want the defense garrison mission there. I've tested this out. This is a good little mission for drops. And then you got max HP, mod drop rate, Kuiper drop rate, fire resistance, MP recover, and down but not out. Now, max HP is a must on this for most builds. From there, you want that MP recovery if you can. And then in Hagios, farm the mission blockade. This is in the Doom base zone, so not the greatest area to farm. But for processors, you're gonna want max shield and item acquisition distance I really like, but shield recover is also really good, depending on the build. But one that's really big for this season, because of Deathstalker, is toxic resistance. So if you're making a high shield build, then you're gonna want max shield with toxic resistance for that fight. So I picked out the highlights, and all the other farms for the week are down below for you to reference. Catch you on the next one. Thank you for hanging out with me. My name is Tuxedo Bandido. That's Tito Bandido.
One and only.
And this was another episode of The First Descendant. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss out on the fantastic experiences waiting for you in The First Descendant. And if you like videos like this, check out the one I have recommended for you right here. If you have anything you want to see covered, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make everything possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be without you.
When you buy or download anything for The First Descendant, be sure to use Tux's creator code to support the channel. Easy peasy.
Follow me.